Hey, what's going on everybody? Today we're going to be doing a video for the beginners in Logic Pro X. I've done some recent videos on not so beginner stuff, so I figured I'd make one for the beginners. Basically what we're going to be talking about today is how to start making music. Making music is really exciting, so when you first get into it, all you want to do is just make music, see what you can come up with, take the ideas in your head and put them into Logic and create something. But the question is, how do you do that? So I'm going to be talking about how to open up software instruments, create drums, create loops, quantize them so they're in time and they actually sound good, and stuff along those lines. Okay, so let's just talk about opening a project in Logic. You're going to click on it, and if it doesn't open up and it's like this, you just go up here, File, New, and this is going to be the first window that opens up. So from here, this is really your preference as to whether or not you want to start with drums or you want to start with an instrument. A lot of times I like to create the music first and then create a beat, but either way, it really doesn't matter. It's up to your preference, like I said. But let's just open up a software instrument first. So let's go down here and let's go to the E-piano. I have some other instruments, but when you first get Logic, you're not going to be having other sounds like that. So just stick to the stock sounds and see what you can create with that. So we're going to open up a vintage electric piano. Now I have a MIDI keyboard hooked up to this, so I can just play right in. When you don't have a MIDI keyboard connected, you can't just play something, so what you're going to want to do is click Command K. Command K is your musical typing, which allows you to essentially have a piano made out of your keyboard, and these letters correspond with the notes on the keyboard. The thing is though, is these are not velocity sensitive, so you're not going to be playing them in and having the different velocities of how it would actually sound to play a piano. So I do recommend just getting a cheap little MIDI keyboard because they're velocity sensitive most of the time. But anyway, right from this you can start making music, and how you would record it in is by clicking the R button. Okay, so now you have a little chord progression, and what you're going to want to do is click on this, and that's going to pull up the MIDI down here. And from here, you can adjust the velocity. And this is what I was saying. You can see that all of these are at 98 because it's not velocity sensitive when you do the musical typing. So a lot of the time it doesn't sound realistic, especially with something like an electric piano where you can get a really cool tone when you have a soft velocity. So if you went over here and you turn the velocity down on these chords, you can get a softer tone which might be more appealing to you. It depends what you're going for. The next thing is this. You might play this in, and now when you play it back, you hear nothing because this is not lined up because you didn't play it quite in time. Now this is very important. This is called quantizing, and you pretty much select what you want to quantize. And when I say quantize, a lot of people don't explain what that means. That just means lining it up with the edges here so that everything is perfectly in time. This is the stuff that used to really frustrate me when I was learning music because they would just throw out words but they wouldn't explain what they meant. That really would annoy me. So you're going to highlight these here, and you're going to go ahead and click Q. Now when you play it back, you're going to get sound because it's perfectly lined up. It's not behind. Now you can also do this to all the chords, so you can go Command A and then click Q. And I was way off for some of these because I really didn't hear the metronome. You can just sort of adjust these accordingly, and you kind of want to do this individually to the different notes to get a more human effect. I'll also just throw this out there. If you want these to reach the next note, so you want to play it until it hits the next chord, you're going to go Command A and then Shift backslash. You're going to click shorten so that they don't overlap over the notes, and then from there it's going to sound a lot more seamless. This sometimes again though might not sound human, so you might want to adjust this accordingly. So that will at least get you started with recording in sounds into Logic and messing around with the MIDI. So let's say you wanted to add some drums over this. You'd basically go up here to this plus button. That's going to add a software instrument. And you can go for live sounding drums, which they have stock live sounding drums, Drum Kit Designer. But I don't really like to use those. I like to actually use drums that I'm able to select. So I actually have Splice, which I definitely recommend. It's like 10 bucks a month, but it's really worth it for the sounds that you get. And you can also sample stuff from there, which will allow you to really get a feel for Logic and tweaking stuff quickly. I used to be really against sampling, but now I use it to pretty much create drum loops over and stuff like that. And then I can create my own music on top of that. So if you wanted to use your own drums or drums from Splice, then you would actually go to the quick sampler. And this way you can pull this up and you can actually drag audio files in here. So let's say I pulled this up and I had some drums. So I like the sound of this snare, so let's just drag this in here. And now from there, you're going to be doing the same exact thing. You pretty much click Command K. So you're going to want to hit K because that's middle C. If you hit A, that would transpose it down a whole octave, which sometimes is a cool sound. But let's say you just wanted to record this in. You would click R again. Now another important thing to note is having the metronome on. I didn't have it on. What I like to do is actually have click while recording. So that's going to allow you to, when you click the R button, have a metronome clicking so that you can hit the snare or whatever you're playing in and have it be in time. Now you're going to get quicker and quicker with this. So now you can go right in the snare. You can go Command A and then you can click Q, quantize everything to be perfectly aligned. So that sounds pretty good to me. And from there, you can actually just duplicate this by clicking this duplicate button up here. And all you have to do is swap out this instrument for a different one. So let's say we wanted to add a hi-hat. So obviously that was the worst recorded in thing ever, but again, Command K. Now from there you have a seamless loop to build upon. You can add different sounds, you can add bells, you can add a bass, you can add whatever you want. But that's going to get you started for programming drums, and it's going to get you started on adding in software instruments and playing stuff in. So let's say you have no clue how to play anything in. You don't know what notes make up chords. Essentially what you're going to want to do is just look something up on the internet, chord progressions and stuff like that, and actually learn stuff. I definitely recommend actually learning it instead of just using MIDI and dragging it in, because that's like the laziest way of doing anything. So you should actually probably learn a little bit of music theory and what notes make up chords. So like, let's say I know that a G chord is G, B, and D, right? So I can essentially get rid of this and I can go up here to my draw tool, my pencil, and you're going to go Command, and that's going to draw the pencil in. So you're going to go down to G, you're going to go to B, and then you're going to go to D. So now you have a G chord, and then you're going to move on to the next chord. So let's say we wanted a C chord, C, E, and G. So what I did right there was I just clicked all of them, and then I clicked Option and Shift, and then I clicked up. That's going to transpose it all the way up and down. So let's say I wanted a darker vibe instead of a brighter one like that, then I can transpose it down and get a different sound completely. But anyway, I don't want to go too far into all the stuff in the MIDI. That's enough to get you started at least. And yeah, just create some chord progressions or some melodies and stuff like that and throw a beat over it. If you don't have any sounds, like I said, just go into Drum Kit Designer. You have a million different sounds. Click Command K. So from there, you can just play stuff in the same way I just showed you. These tools up here are going to be really helpful. So if you go up here, you can pencil stuff in instead of having to record something in to get to the MIDI. You can go to here by clicking Command. That's going to pull that up, same way it did down here. And then you actually have all the sounds that are within this drum kit designer right here. So if you're looking for a tom, you're looking for a snare, there you go. You can just play these right in and draw them in. It's pretty simple. There's a million different tools in here. I won't go through all of them. I'll do a separate video on this, but you can kind of just mess around with them. Again, just clicking Command is how you're going to activate these tools up here, unless you have them on the left side. But I always like to have them on the right, so I have more control over moving stuff. Then I can click Command, boom. It's just fast. It's a lot more seamless. Now from here you can go crazy. You can just add different sounds, do whatever you want, but I'm not going to go too crazy and do a bunch of different stuff in this video. I just wanted to get you guys started with making music. So this is kind of just the most stripped back video I could possibly make in terms of just getting started for making music. You literally just add in software instruments. You learn about musical typing with Command K. That way you can play it in, or you can go ahead and use this draw tool that I told you about. And from there, you can just add it in like I was showing you in the MIDI. So that's how you're going to add that stuff in. And from there, let's say you want to bounce the project and hear it back. And when I say bounce, I mean export. Think of bounce as the same thing as export. You're going to go to File, Bounce. You're going to go Project or Section. And from here, when you're just starting, turn Normalize on. That's going to bring all the levels up to a respectable level. It's not going to be like a master, but it's going to sound good enough so that you can listen back in your car and just kind of vibe to whatever you made. Just don't worry about this stuff for now. I'm going to make a whole separate video on this so that you guys understand that. But if you're just starting with Logic, this is not stuff that you really need to be thinking about right now. Just think about making the music, bouncing it, listening back to it in your car, and finding new ways to create chord progressions and adding drums and arranging the songs in cool ways. If you focus on that first, you're going to have a lot more success and you won't be as frustrated with learning everything at once. You can get really frustrated and flustered when you're trying to learn everything at once, which is what I was trying to do. I wanted to know everything before I knew anything. Just do one thing at a time, try to focus on creativity, and that way you'll have a lot more fun with it, and all this other stuff will come in time when you're just kind of bored and looking stuff up on YouTube and you want to find out about it. So this is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys got something out of it. If you did, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. It helps the channel a ton, so I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later.